And welcome everybody. It is Sunday night. And this is In the Batter's Box. It is the NGSC Sports Weekly Baseball Show. I am your host, Ralph Garcia, joined by the guys this evening. Of course, he is the host of the Enhanced Sports Show, Saturdays 4 to 6 p.m. Uh, he's also the co-host of In the Batter's Box. Remember, of course, on his show, just because one season of a sport ends, that's the thing about Louis' show. Louis' show doesn't have a season like In the Batter's Box.
No.
Louis' season never ends, and neither does the line to get in. He might take a break, but neither does the line to get in. So
Right.
get in early. Louis Tanoa. Hey, Louis.
Ralph.
Two things, Louis.
Oh, here comes.
One, I thoroughly enjoy any Major League Baseball playoff that doesn't include the Yankees. That is absolutely,
pure joy for you.
your team can't make it all the time. We live for our team. As fans, to root for your team,
Right.
critique your team, and then maybe if you're lucky, your team gets to the postseason, you can really enjoy and extend the rooting. But you can't do that all the time. One thing that I can do more often than enjoying the Mets in the playoffs is enjoying the Yankees not in the playoffs.
Of course.
I get to do that a lot more often, and I appreciate that. And Louis, of course, number two, before we move on, I still hate the Yankees. I'll hate them more tomorrow. I'll hate them more Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
That won't stop Louis, okay? From Chicago, and literally Chicago behind him, the great
Lake Michigan.
great, vast, beautiful Lake Michigan. Alejandro Vargas, ¿qué pasa, pai?
Good, brother. A little tired, but we're here. By the way, you might get your wish. Not seeing the Yankees in the playoff for a minute. The way the American League East are just evolving, and the Yankees are not doing things to change the business model. You might not see the Yankees in the playoff in a while.
Louis, that's great news, Louis. It's great news.
Maybe for you, not for me.
And,
blessing to talk,
and
man.
of course, the man who helped me create all of this takes care of it, keep it comfy and cozy and manageable for the both of us. By the way, he's also the co-host of In the Batter's Box and one of my very true dear friends, Mr. John Doucette. John.
Ralph, it's always good to be with you.
He doesn't make me feel that way all the time. He does on the show. He does. But on the phone, sometimes he doesn't. But sometimes he also has real good reason to do it. So that's why we make great partners, and that's why this is In the Batter's Box. And remember the website, of course, it is NGSCsports.com. We catch all of your current content. Check out the website. Bunch of NFL stuff is up there. College football is up there. Texas, Southern, Colorado coming back to earth after that rocket ship took off. John, even a rocket ship has to refuel.
More than that, even a rocket ship has to have players, and they don't have enough. I think everybody jumped on a bandwagon that really didn't need to be jumped on in the first place, and I think you're now starting to see why.
Of course, I bring you Memphis football this year, and they just ran out of steam. The Memphis football team ran out of steam. Again, just a Tulane team. As I wrote it up, it was a game of two spurts. After Tulane takes a 10-0 lead, Memphis comes out looking like Memphis was looking like they were looking early in the season. They scored 21 unanswered points, twice before the end of the half to make it 14-10, 21-10. Looking good. All of a sudden, the Tulane defense shuts them down. scores 21 unanswered of their own for the 31-21 win, unfortunately there, and a 2-0 record in the AAC, one game better than Memphis, who has their first AAC loss.
Hey, who won between Minnesota and the Bears?
NFL tonight?
Yeah. I was rushing out of the loop, man. It's too many crazy people driving.
I'm gonna try to.
They
get
both
that.
1-4. Before the game. So
I'm gonna try to get that answer. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get that answer for you now. Now, someone else might ask you or might say to you, why the hell do we care about a score of 2-1 and 14? But being that you're in Chicago, we're gonna
yes. You want to see who's worse?
We're gonna let that pass. 1913 Vikings.
Yeah.
Wow, we really sucked.
Yeah.
My brother feels the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens, doesn't it? It happens, doesn't it?
My
Anyway,
brother's a Bears fan.
all that
Way
and more,
back.
of course, on NGSCSports.com, where we never stop. Gentlemen, I'm going to start it this way, okay? I'm going to go around the horn, but first I'm going to go this way. The Atlanta Braves, 104 wins. The Baltimore Orioles, 101 wins. The Los Angeles Dodgers, 100 wins. Oh, and the Tampa Bay Rays, they didn't get 100, though. They got 99 wins. All four with the best records in baseballs, the most wins in baseballs. All four teams, though the Orioles, the most inexperienced by far, all four teams definitely expected to move on further than where they ended up. Well, some of them didn't even move on. So that's how you have it. And think about this. We started the baseball season, and one of the stories we talked about was the Baltimore Orioles. I always come on year after year, the Baltimore Orioles suck, the Baltimore Orioles suck. And then now lately I say, well, the Baltimore Orioles no longer suck. And by the way, they no longer suck. But at least talk of the Orioles, and John, he made a lot of great points. John made a lot of great points about why the Orioles shouldn't have made or shouldn't have been able to make a deep postseason run, or why it wouldn't have surprised you if they didn't. Nobody, of course, expected them to be eliminated, much less swept. The Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers never saw the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks coming. They never saw it.
That's a surprise. That's a surprise team, man. Arizona and Diamondbacks.
You guys are going to break it down. I'm just going to set the stage because we're going to go differently here. I'm going to set the stage here in different ways and then let you guys just go at it here while I interject. But so, right. They never saw these teams, never saw them coming.
Yeah.
And right now, we have a battle in the West. But before we get, I don't want to get to the NL and the ALCS till later on in the show. But you saw what happened in the only team that made it out, that was expected to make it out, was the Houston Astros.
Right.
And they're not even the hottest team. They're not even the hottest team in the postseason. We're going to talk about that as well. But John, I'm going to go to you first when I say 3 100-plus win teams, 199 win teams. In the Tampa Bay Rays, who's already been here, done that. So there's no excuse for the Rays. They failed. The season was a failure, when you measure it up to what it could have and should have been. The Dodgers, as we've been teasing, and I joke for the last several years, seem to just find a way. They just find a round to pick to lose. And so they lose. And that's what they do. And for the Atlanta Braves, listen, the Baltimore Orioles have the biggest excuse of all. They're young and they're ahead of the pace. But for the Atlanta Braves, John, what an absolute rupture of a season. I mean, just
Yeah.
what a way to end.
Stars need to be stars, and unfortunately for the teams that had the 100-win seasons, their stars were never stars in these series, and it contributed to them losing. I mean, the Braves, Ronald Acuna, who's going to be your MVP, went hitless in 3 of the 4 games that were played. The pitching staff gives up 11 home runs in the 4 games. The stars just were never stars in that series, and for the Phillies, they were. I mean, Harper and Castellanos and Wheeler and Nola, the stars were stars, and that ended up being the difference in that series. And for the Orioles and Texas Rangers, same deal. The Orioles stars were never stars, and Texas was. Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi in the rotation, and then what they got from Seager and what they got from Jung offensively. The stars were stars. The Dodgers, Diamondbacks, same deal. Mookie Betts was terrible in that series. Kershaw was terrible in that series. The stars were never stars. And then at this time of year, that's what you need. You need your stars to step up and carry you. And for those 3 teams, it never happened.
Alejandro, it's a hot mess because if the Orioles don't come out of the series, you never saw a sweep. You never saw a sweep, and to watch Arizona and Philadelphia do what they did to 2 teams that did it to the rest of the league all year long. Wow.
This is that 101 game, 99 game, 100 games. Is 0 right now. The fact that we in the playoff, this is a different season. Like John mentioned, he hit the nail right in the head. The stars weren't there; they were absent. But one thing that I want to know is Houston's formula. In terms of, okay, you got teams that are sitting down for 5-6 days, right? Like all the teams that got the bye, they all were sitting down. I mean, it doesn't matter how many simulated games you play. It doesn't matter how much you practice in a controlled environment. I think hitting and pitching as well. It's about rhythm. If you're not hitting for almost a week, you're not gonna get on track. So that's probably my best guess in terms of the Braves, Dodgers, the same Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore to me is not a shame. I think that they promising. They have a bright future. They're gonna win in 1 or 2 years, maybe. It's about what they add in the offseason. I think they have to figure it out. What are they missing? But I think it's all about rhythm and timing. And at the end for those the teams that got the buys. I mean, you're sitting down for a long period of time. You're not gonna hit.
You're not gonna hit. Yeah.
Jeter mentioned that, and so did Pedro Martinez.
Yeah, that's true. And Louis, you and I do this. We do this every week for years in this baseball show now, and we do it mainly as kind of a jest, a jab at the Los Angeles Dodgers. But very few times do I get to ask you very seriously, Louis.
I think I know what the question is.
Who's the only team that could beat the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Very simple. The Dodgers themselves.
The Dodgers. Somehow, Louis, they found a way to take an offense, a team that woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Woke up and did exactly what was expected of them, and only to just fizzle out and go away. And the Atlanta Braves. Holy crap, Louis.
Oh, wow. I didn't see any of this coming at all. I mean, 3 teams that had 100 wins or more, and they just turned the choke signal just like that. What happened? I mean, I don't think it's coming. I mean, my National League series is now out the window because I had the Braves and Dodgers all penciled in already, and they both just fizzled.
If this was
I got to see the Diamondbacks. I mean, the Diamondbacks, of course, were the dark horse in the whole series to begin with.
My
I mean,
God,
God.
what a season they have, huh?
If this is one of those, hey, John,
Underdog.
if this was one of those tournament cards,
Yeah.
I get busted.
Well, I
At
mean,
least-
I did the one that MLB.com put together, and I did well coming out of the wild card series. But once the division series came, I lost everything. So
it was over.
That took care of that. But again, I mean, the Dodgers played their series uphill from the very first pitch of the first game until the last out of the third game. They never got a lead in that series.
No.
In the first inning, they were always giving up runs. Crooked innings came up far too often for them, and that's why they ended up losing. You can't play 3-4 runs behind, even if you're 20 games, 25 games better than the team you're playing. You can't do that every night and get away with it, and they didn't. And
they were out, John, before the first inning of the first
right.
game.
And that's the reality of it, and it's hard to imagine that a team that had the experience and had the veteran leadership that team possessed, that they would find themselves in that position as quickly as it happened. And once it happened, they couldn't stop it.
As bad as Kershaw is in the postseason, I never expect not even complete an inning and give up 6 runs. I never waited for that. That was disastrous, and I feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's just something that I guess one of the demons that he has to battle when he's in bed at night. But that is crazy.
And
6 runs in 2/3.
Once Kershaw got hammered, the rest of that rotation was going to have to pick it up. And unfortunately, when Bobby Miller came in game 2, it didn't get any better. And then Lance Lynn threw game 3. That didn't get any better.
And that sets up your offense too.
Right. It sets everything up.
Pressure.
It sets everything up. And unfortunately, once that first inning of game 1 took place,
that's it.
The whole thing was done. They were done. There was nothing Roberts could do. He didn't have enough bullets to be able to make up for what Kershaw couldn't do in that first game.
And like I said, Louis, for the Baltimore Orioles, Louis, they come out of this. You're not happy if you're part of the Baltimore Orioles that you not only got eliminated, but you got swept. But they're the ones with the excuse, so to speak.
Yeah.
So having the young team, Louis, and still having time to make this thing grow and become a champion.
Yeah, I mean, we were all kind of hoping, I think, that Baltimore was going to go further. I mean, look what they've done just the past 2 years. They went from, being a trash dump to the tops of the AL East in just a short time. And, I think everybody was, riding on their success and hoping they were going to go further. But it just caught up with them.
And again, it's the experience that the Orioles possess.
Exactly.
But Aaron Hicks missing that hit and run sign in the 9th inning of game 1 caused what would eventually happen to happen. Because Henderson gets thrown out, the game's over. And then game 2 and game 3 take place, and they never recovered from what you would consider a simple mistake in the regular season. But in the postseason, that mistake just magnifies itself because you don't know what will happen if everything is done properly.
Yeah, John.
Credit to the Rangers. I mean, they playing out of their minds.
But they're getting good
pitching,
and that's what's doing it for them.
Exactly.
Jordan Montgomery, Nathan Eovaldi, those two guys are just going deep into games, and so
they're getting Scherzer back. They're getting Scherzer back. I don't know.
They're getting Scherzer and John Gray back, and that becomes an interesting dynamic to this because John Gray apparently is going to get put in the bullpen. Scherzer is going to hopefully start game 3 for them, but how far can Scherzer go?
I think 4 innings. 65,
and then that bullpen is going to have to, I think eventually that's how it gets exposed.
Yeah.
Now you guys got me putting the banner up that I forgot, but now we're into the spot of that segment of the show.
in my opinion, which is the hottest team.
Well, I mean, everybody will give theirs, but of course, this is
Well,
where
everybody that's alive is the hottest team. That's the point. You're alive. You're still playing.
Yeah,
is that makes for a good argument, doesn't it, John? Makes for a good argument.
right. It's
If you're still playing, you're a hot team.
I
Right.
think, I mean, just beating the Braves the way they did, maybe the Phillies. I think they have every ingredient. I was a doubter before, not anymore. I mean, they have everything clicking a cylinder, all cylinders. But I also like the Houston Astros. I think they're the most balanced and the deeper team in the playoff. Bullpen, rotation, lineup, defense, everything you need, they have it.
But if you're the Atlanta Braves, the dumbest thing you did in that series was after Game 2, when Orlando Arcia decides to criticize Bryce Harper for making that base running mistake.
Who is the PR? Who is the PR, man?
That you just don't do. You don't say it. You just keep it to yourself. And so what does Harper do in Game 3? He makes the point. He hits 2 home runs. He drives in 4 RBIs. He stares at him twice as he's rounding second base. He made the point. And unfortunately for the Braves, the Phillies fed off that statement and all that went around with it, and they end up taking the series.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Whatever Arcia said after that game, it didn't cause any impact on me. The day after, when he said he was very arrogant about what he thinks about everything that Harper did, that really clicked in on me. Like, why are you saying that? Where's the PR person for the Braves? Like, got to put a muscle on your mouth, man. And then in that last game in Philly, he started arguing with the fans and yelling things at the fan, like "shut the hell up" and all that in Spanish. Who is the PR for the Braves?
Change the series. Look
Definitely.
I mean, that was a great play to end Game 2, the double play that was orchestrated by the Braves when Harris made that catch against the wall and throws it back into the infield, and Austin Riley makes the great throw, and Harper gets picked off. And Harper never said a word. He just went back to the dugout, no problem. And it was a great comeback by the Braves in Game 2 as well. I mean, Riley hit the home run that gave them the lead in the 8th inning. And you would have thought that the Braves would have taken that momentum and just gone to Philadelphia, ran with it, and that would have been that. And then, unfortunately, you get the comments that are made at Harper's expense, and Harper decides to demonstrate, you know what, I'm still pretty good. And
yeah, I guess he's still pretty good. I like if the Texas Rangers, man, the way they've come out in this postseason so far. Yeah, and I'll talk about that more when we talk about the ALCS. But I just find them, as far as the question, the hottest team in the postseason right now. I get what you're saying, John. All teams are hot, but when you have 4 teams playing, one has an opinion that one may be hotter than the other 3.
Well, if you can't get Corey Seager out, the rest of that lineup follows suit.
Yep.
There you go.
And Seager's been playing his part.
Right.
Well, he's taking walks every day.
And again, he's setting up the rest of the lineup by being that kind of a hitter.
Yeah,
exactly. If I'm a pitcher, you gave me Corey Seager or you gave me Mitch Garver to pitch, I'm going to pitch Mitch Garver.
Yeah.
Right. Every time.
With all the respect of Mitch Garver that I have.
Yeah.
No, I'm not pitching to Seager.
No.
Whatever.
And it'll be interesting to see what the Astros do when those situations arise in this upcoming series. I think they will avoid him as often as they can.
This is the biggest test for the Texas Rangers. Not even getting – if they get into the World Series, they deserve it. But this is the biggest test, the biggest series for them, because they playing the team that's the world champion.
Yes.
And a team that's, like I say, the most balanced team in baseball. They have everything. So if you could beat the Houston Astros, I think you could beat anybody in baseball.
And the only way the Rangers do it is they have to at least split the 2 games in Houston. If they can't split the 2 games in Houston, it's over.
Forget it.
If they go to Texas 0-2,
They're done.
yeah.
Time. Forget it.
Oh no,
way they'll
that's
come back.
that's not going to work. No, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Louis, any thoughts, Louis, as to who you think your hottest team is right now?
Yeah, I'd say the Phillies. They had some hot bats in the series, and it proves to be like they are the hottest. They are the hottest teim. In
Yeah.
this, I mean, I know it wasn't a sweep in the series, but the way they came out in like games 3 and 4, I mean, just outdoing the Braves in the postseason, and with the
Like
home runs
John
they hit.
said, it could be
Yeah.
anybody right now because the way Arizona just spanked the Dodgers.
And that's spectacular.
You
Catching in the
kidding me?
seventh.
Yeah.
And you know what? You got to give the Phillies credit. When Suarez pitched and pitched as well as he did,
Yes.
and really kept that alive for the Phillies and really gave them the opportunity to go ahead and finish the job. That I think really became the part of their victory that goes unnoticed is what Suarez did. And really, when you think about it, that was the final nail in the coffin.
Definitely. I think so. And going against Strider, by the way, that was crazy.
And you know what? And again, Strider became a one-pitch pitcher in that game. Why? Because his slider was not very good. That's what he gave up the home runs on. And it got to the point in the middle innings where he just decided he wasn't going to use that pitch anymore. And so he became a one-pitch guy. And when Castellanos turned that 100-mile-an-hour fastball and hit it into the second deck, I mean, my God, I dream of doing something like that. Anybody would dream of doing something like that. But again, the Philly hitters recognizing that one pitch wasn't going to work for him and forced him to do something he didn't want to do, allowed them the opportunity to finish off the Braves the way they did.
I think in the third inning of that game, I mean, they were working Strider hard. They were working him. They were making him go deep into counts and things like that. And that's kind of a sign of a team that's prepared. That's ready.
Sure. They were forcing him to use his secondary pitches. They weren't very good. And because they weren't very good, he became the one-pitch pitcher, and they jumped all over it.
Well, now we agree. I know we agree with the Baltimore Orioles. They've got their core. They'll be back.
Yeah, they're going to be
you
super good.
You got to feel the same thing about the Dodgers.
But the Dodger core is more of a veteran core, and that's what makes the situation interesting.
That's where I was going, John. The Dodgers, I think, have are the one team affected the most by this postseason exit. The Braves are young, the Orioles are young, the Rays are young, and the Rays have proven that they just continue to win. But for the Dodgers, remember that clock you talk about, John, that
the window.
But give the Dodgers credit. They have extended that window of opportunity. You got to give them credit for that, even though it hasn't worked out the way you would hope. I mean, look, the Dodgers over the last 4 years, 100 wins this year, 111 in 2022, 109 in 2021, and 108 in 2019. They have extended the window of opportunity. Now, granted, they haven't always gotten to the promised land, but at least they've given themselves the opportunity. Now, eventually, yes, the window is going to close on them, and they're finally going to have to figure out what is their next move. But give them credit. They've extended the window, I think, longer than probably they should have.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give them those are impressive win totals. I mean, when I do give them a hard time about them beating themselves.
Yeah,
but those are impressive, and it's true. They have, even though the window doesn't mean a window is not something where you're winning championships. When you're winning championships, you don't have to talk about a window anymore. You've already broken the window. But the window
bad luck
is where, in this case, the Dodgers have been able to extend that window, and that's true. They have been able to do that. You do have to give them, credit for that.
And I think their window is going to be pretty wide because they do have a great scouting system, a great scouting team, great player development. They draft well. They sign people well out of Latin America. So, I mean, if you look at the Dodgers for the past, 10 years, they always been like 100-win team, right? Draft late, right? Look at their farm system, top 10.
But I do
And
think what the
it's always
Dodgers have to
balanced there.
figure out is what are they missing? What is in that clubhouse that they don't have?
I tell you the answer like a few shows ago. Francisco Lindor.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
They need a shortstop.
But I think that's what the Dodgers. I mean, I think that's what the Dodgers have to go searching for. They've got to figure out what's the missing piece in that clubhouse that is stopping them from finishing these years.
I mean, the biggest hole in terms of what they miss, and I think it's got to be a shortstop. And they could afford a guy like Lindor. They have the pitching to get him in return. Why not? They probably one of the few teams that could afford that contract. And the Mets, they have plenty of people that are coming up. Jet Williams, you could put Ronnie Mauricio ashore in the meantime. They got some young kids that they could play shortstop. And in the meantime, the market for pitching is so thin. When you have a team, an organization like the Dodgers that's loaded with pitching, what do you do?
But I think the problem
just an idea
is that they've gone the veteran route with this roster, hoping that the experience and the veteran leadership would get them to where it's supposed to go. It hasn't worked. So
no.
So what's the next option?
For the most part, yeah.
What's the next option?
Yeah, because you can't be a 93, 95, 98 win team every single year after year after year after year, and only have a ring or two to show for it. I mean,
at some point, you've got to look in the mirror and say, okay, exactly what are we missing? You've got to figure it out.
Right. Because obviously we're good enough. Obviously we're more than good enough, but just not good enough to finish it off. And for the Dodgers, like John was saying, you got veterans there now. And I was wondering how that works because you brought up a good point, Alejandro. John,
they develop well.
Right. He talked about the Dodgers developing well and doing that consistently. How does that work? How do you do that now with the veterans that are going to be here, that are not going to be here? Who's not getting signed?
The clubhouse is not working. To me, that's the point. The clubhouse is not working.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I think the Dodgers are a team that's super based on analytics. They fix anybody in the regular season because they have the data to do it. They have the department to do it. But in the postseason, it's all about fundamentals. So you have to step up. I think that's the difference between the Dodgers and the Houston Astros. You see the Houston Astros advancing. The Houston Astros are managed by a team that's by a guy that's super old school and Dusty Baker. So you see the difference there. I think analytics is super awesome for regular season, and the good thing about the Dodgers, they could use data analytics and steroids, like not that they use in steroids, like they innate the data analytics because they could pay for the best systems and the best everything.
Right.
So it's a different thing. You have to play fundamentals when postseason arrives, I think.
Louis, what do you think, Louis?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I didn't see any of this coming at all. The Dodgers almost always seem to find a way to lose, except maybe 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That was the lone exception. But every time they seem to get in the postseason and think they're going to do some damage, everyone's getting the damage. Kershaw, maybe Kershaw is starting to feel signs of age too. I mean, he is 36, 37. That's kind of like borderline for a pitcher, and they didn't seem to be that sharp. Six. I mean, giving up 6 runs before you even get 1 out.
Mm.
Even the bad, worse version doesn't even do worse than that. I mean, there's some wrong.
Like John said, it doesn't work. It's not working. You gotta find the missing piece. All right, gentlemen, we finished the show out here. Previewing the ALCS, the NLCS, and in the American League Championship Series, you have the Houston Astros, the defending World Series champion. You would figure the favorite now of the teams that are still in this to win it all. A team that's been here, done that, playing their cross-state or upstate rival, Houston, of course.
Right.
Rangers playing several hours north of that, of Houston. And the Texas Rangers have watched the Houston Astros. And by the way, these are two organizations that history shows genuinely don't like each other. And it's the way it should be in an in-state rivalry.
Yeah, of course.
And now Texas finds themselves watching the Houston Astros do and get the rewards and the accolades over these last 10, 12 years that they long for, individual accolades and accomplishments and division titles and world championships and Scherzer, Mad Max is back. He's added to the Rangers roster now. And to me, it is so important that Texas comes out swinging, and they they have to come out swinging hard, Alejandro, on Houston and jump all over this Houston squad quick, because I'm sure that everybody's list right here is pretty short when I ask the question, Game 1 of a championship series. I don't care, American League or National League. We'll go American League in this case. Game 1 of the American League Championship Series. Who do you want on the hill? Hey, I surely wouldn't mind Justin Verlander on the hill for Game 1 of an ALCS. And that's exactly what the Houston Astros are going to give the Texas Rangers for Game 1 of the ALCS. And Alejandro, this again, Texas has to jump all over.
They have to.
Verlander and the Astros to have a chance.
This is, like I mentioned, this is the World Series for the Texas Rangers is this one. They have to prove to the world, they have to prove to themselves that they could get that monkey out of the bag. If they for some reason make it to the World Series and lose, they could pat themselves on the back. They beat the Houston Astros. Like I've been mentioning, it's probably the most balanced team in the world right now. And if you look at the business format, like John likes to mention, business model, everybody in Houston is homegrown except for Verlander. They've been developing all these guys, the Altuves, the Tuckers, the Alvarez. All these guys are homegrown. Texas, on the other hand, they have homegrown, and they have the leadership, the core leadership are externally. So that also could affect. But it will be a really, really good series to watch. My heart says that if the Rangers could beat the Houston Astros in this series, they probably going to win the World Series. But my brain is saying Houston's probably going to take it.
I'm going to go to Louis before I go to John. Louis, Houston, Texas, excuse me. Yeah, no, I said it right. Houston, Texas, Texas Rangers, Houston, Texas. It's the Rangers and the Astros, Lou.
Yeah, well, Verlander, on the mound, that is going to be tough to beat. But I'm going for the Rangers. I mean, they got some good hitters, and maybe they'd be able to stop, Verlander's pitching. I hope. So I'm going for them, and
Oh,
be a.
I forgot to mention
Uh-oh.
the Houston's bullpen is on fire.
Hmm.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Presley, Abreu, even Neris is pitching good. That could be a
This does
big
worry
difference
me.
maker.
It does worry me though, but I'm so hoping the Rangers can take it.
And John, let's remember that this is a Houston, Texas team, Houston Astros team. I knew I was going to do that.
It's fine.
This is a Houston Astros team that the Texas Rangers had to hold off. Oh yeah, Texas Rangers basically held the American League West for most of the season, but the Mariners made that run, took the lead momentarily, of course. But then, and John, you said it. As a matter of fact, John, you said it during the time that Seattle had taken the lead. You had said that we still had to pay attention for the Houston Astros because the Houston Astros basically was still the best team in that division. They just weren't playing up to par at that time, which eventually they did. And at the last game of the season, they happened to win the West. And they really won it by default for the season series is what won it for them. And so here they are, game one. Again, huge for the Texas Rangers. Huge.
All the experience that's in this series. You look at the two managers, first of all.
Oh, what a story.
I mean,
what a
Dusty
story.
Baker and Bruce Bochy, both guys have been doing this for 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
Both guys have won over 2,000 games.
Yeah.
Baker's won 54 postseason games. Bochy's won 49. 4 pennants for Bochy, 3 for Baker, 1 World Series for Baker, 3 for Bochy, all with the Giants. It's the first time in Major League Baseball history that 2 managers that have won over 2,000 games will meet in a playoff series. So you don't expect any mistakes that are going to come from the managers here. You expect that every decision that they make is going to be well thought out and is going to be exactly what the moment expects to have happen. I think that the problem is going to be, how did the Texas Rangers manage the 3 games that could potentially take place at home, games 3, 4, and 5? Because they can't expect much from Max Scherzer. Right? Even if he goes out there on adrenaline in game 3, that's fine. It's only going to take him so far. And then you're going to have games 4 and 5. One of those games is going to end up being a bullpen game. And that's going to be a problem for the Texas Rangers. And that's why the split that they need to get in Houston becomes a priority. Either Jordan Montgomery's got to get it done tonight or Nathan Eovaldi's got to get it done tomorrow. Both those guys have so far. They'll both be making their 3rd postseason start. The advantage the Rangers have here is that they've been able to get rid of their opponents quickly. And consequently, they've had time off to reset their rotation, to reset their bullpen, to give themselves a chance in that next round, which is what the Astros did. And that's why game 4 in Minnesota was so important for them, because Verlander was going to have game 5 had there been one. So he doesn't have to pitch game 5. Now he's all set for game 1. That rotation is set for game 1. That bullpen is set for this series. And that's why the Astros look as good as they are. 2 factors. The Rangers are going to have to figure out how to get Yordan Alvarez out, because unfortunately, Minnesota Twins couldn't figure it out, and he just destroyed them all by himself. Meanwhile, the Houston Astros are going to have to figure out how to get Corey Seager out, because he was setting up the way the rest of that lineup was able to perform and drive in runs. But I do think this series is going to come down to bullpens, and the Astros simply have the better bullpen, unless you get 6-7 innings from Montgomery tonight and the same thing from Eovaldi tomorrow. If you starting team, then the bullpens may not matter as much. But if those guys can't get deep into games, the Ranger bullpen is going to get exposed, and I think this becomes a quick series.
The only flow that I see on the strategy, John. Houston Astros are a very selective team.
Oh, absolutely, and that's
They're
why
going to make them work.
Absolutely, and that's why I think it's
That
going
should
to
be the game plan, at least.
Especially when Scherzer throws in Game 3, that should be the game plan because you can't expect Scherzer to go more than 75, 90 pitches. You can't expect any more than that, and that may not get him very far in that game at all. And if he's done by the third, fourth inning, they're going to be in big time trouble unless they have a lead and can somehow figure out how to bridge this thing to get to the end.
Yeah, it's going to be hard on that pitching, on that bullpen rather.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with John Gray. I mean, John Gray hasn't pitched since September 28th.
Wow.
And so they're going to put him in that bullpen to help them somehow bridge to the end. How much can he give you, and how many days can you throw him?
Right. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot where I heard it at. Somewhere on one of the shows brought up that Gray and Scherzer coming back would be such a help to a bullpen.
They should use them in the same game.
Yeah, but they're not really going to help. But like John said, Scherzer's going to be working on adrenaline. That's only going to go so far. Gray, it's not like Gray's coming into the rotation.
They should pitch him in the same game.
Right. But I'm saying Gray's coming out of the
If you do that in the same game, then what do you do for the rest of the series?
Yeah, then what do you do?
You have They Dunning and you have some other guys that could step up.
And that's going to be your problem here. The drop off is going to be the problem here.
So great.
Well, I mean, you have to pray for them to pitch 4 innings each at least. That way you don't burn your bullpen. And
I would say good luck to that, frankly, based on the way the Astros' mentality in the postseason is.
Astros are playing short ball.
Yeah.
Short ball. Get them out. Get to that bullpen. Get to that bullpen as quick as they can, and this series is over.
John, now what do you think about this? You might not want to pitch them in the same game, right? How about if you split them and throw, depending on what Montgomery does. If Montgomery goes to business today, you might want to put Max Scherzer in there and then rest your bullpen for one day.
The way Bochy said it yesterday was that Scherzer had Game 3. That's the way he put it. So you're going to throw Montgomery tonight. You're going to throw Nathan Eovaldi tomorrow, and then
Montgomery could give me
Game 3. And then what do you do after that? Game 4 looks like a bullpen game, unless the Astros are down.
But then it's going to be bullpen game. Game 3 might be a bullpen game as well. So you might want to split that and put maybe Eovaldi in
the
Game
Texas
3.
Rangers have to throw 2 bullpen games. This is going to go 5 and that's it.
Yeah, that's I can't get that. You're not going to get that out of that bullpen.
No.
That's what I'm saying. They might want to do great in the same game.
You're not,
or split them. Or put sandwich a guy like Gray or Scherzer in between.
Either way, that still puts that bullpen at a strain, whether early or late or both. I mean, it's just not enough. The Rangers.
And the other problem,
putting it back to back is a risk.
And the other problem I have with the Texas bullpen happens to be Chapman, who I don't think has pitched very well in the postseason at all. If you got him as your 8th inning guy,
Altuve.
You're throwing Leclerc for 2 innings to hope that you can get this, get whatever win you can get. And maybe that's the way they go tonight, is that they throw all the bullets tonight because they need the win to try and set up how the rest of the series can go.
I think, they still have Andrew Heaney that could cover multiple innings, and they still got They Dunning that could cover multiple innings, but I wouldn't put him back to back. That's my concern here.
I just think the Houston Astros don't fear this pitching staff.
Oh, no.
Oh, they don't fear anybody.
No, absolutely.
No, and I think that's the issue. They don't fear anybody, and because they don't fear anybody, being able to figure out how to beat them becomes a very easy equation for them to come up with.
No, they definitely don't fear anybody. Louis, how do you see this series going?
Well, I'm still hoping for the Rangers to win. So, but it's going to take an awful lot of effort to how to stop Verlander that. So, if they do, it's got to go the full 7 games.
Yeah, I agree. If the Texas Rangers are going to win this thing, it's going to go 7 games. I agree.
7 games.
I agree.
Yes.
it's just you just look at the two teams and yeah, you see how Texas has been playing. But again, you're looking at a Houston Astros team managed by a guy.
They're the only team to survive the bye.
Right.
The only team to survive. Oh, by the way, Alejandro, you were talking earlier about Dodgers being a team of analytics. I was looking at Bruce Bochy. He seems to have, in a way, been able to kind
balance analytics and fundamentals.
To
definitely
bring old school,
old
keep
fashioned.
old
Old fashioned.
Yeah, but
and Dusty Baker does the same thing in Houston. He does the same
that's
thing.
The thing. That's the thing.
Look,
now, in LCS,
the other way the Texas Rangers can win this series is they slug their way through.
That's what I said. They have to come out. They have to come out. I mean, they have to come out banging, John, banging. They have to come out, and not just game one.
Oh, it has to be every game. Absolutely.
It has to be both games, because I don't, just because the Rangers beat the Astros in game one, that means nothing. Hell, as a matter of fact, it really doesn't mean a lot that they beat them in Houston in games 1 and 2, because Houston can easily come back and still sweep the series. But if Texas is going to stand a chance, one of those ways is they got to come out in games 1 and 2, and they got to put the hammer to Houston and hope that they can ride it into a game 3. Because even, this is just me, but even with a 2-0 lead, I'm not comfortable if I'm the Texas Rangers against the Astros. I'm not comfortable with a 2-0 lead. I'm just not. I'm more comfortable winning the first 2 games in Houston and winning game 3 at home and taking a 3-0 lead and then saying, okay, now it looks. Otherwise, I don't.
Otherwise,
I think the key here also is going to be how the Houston's lineup could navigate Nathan Eovaldi. If they spit on his soft speed, they just focus in on fastball. Because I think he's going to be a key here.
Well, let's face it. There's a reason why we called him Big Game Nate.
That's the name, yeah.
And he's demonstrated it for the Texas Rangers. I mean, he has been Big Game Nate again, and that's certainly good news for them. I guess the question becomes, can Montgomery and Eovaldi come back on 3 days rest and still be effective, which I think maybe is, in the end, what has to happen.
We'll find out. The NLCS, as much as I have given Bryce Harper grief, to watch him in those stare downs, and
those were classic moments. Those really were classic moments.
It really was. It was one of those FU moments, you know?
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
That's exactly what it was. He just said, screw you, shut the blank up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it just once. I'm going to do it twice. I'm going to really shut your – I mean,
he was going to do it every time he turns – if he had hit 4 home runs in that game, he was going to continue to do it.
It was just – and to watch the Phillies, remember that the Braves being the story all year long, it was the question of not too many questions. It was what facets of the game have the Braves excelled in this baseball season?
Like everything.
Like everything. They were unstoppable. They were this juggernaut that just kept getting better and better and better. And they literally put it on cruise control.
Yes.
And just coasted into the postseason. And what I'm getting at is this: the offense that they put up, the offensive numbers that they put up. We talk about all those Brave teams. There's never been a Braves team this good, complete.
Definitely.
And to have that formula bring you to this moment and to be dismantled by that formula was really something to watch. To watch the Phillies they just laid the wood to the Braves.
Well, they did, but I really didn't think that was going to happen after the way Game 2 ended.
Right.
I really thought that comeback in Game 2 when Riley hit the home run,
and that was it.
The way that the game ended,
That was the beginning
I
of
thought
the
the
end.
Braves were just going to take it and run, but
That's
it
it.
didn't happen.
And when you look at what the Philly bats were able to do throughout the series, even in that 5-4 loss, they're very, very, very impressive. Very impressive.
And not only that, they got great starting pitching from Zach Wheeler and from Aaron Nola.
That's the next place I was going to Alejandro was to tell him, Alejandro, Zach Wheeler he's got to throw 2 of those.
Oh, definitely. Nola too.
2 of those, not one. Yeah, you got to throw 2. But at least these are guys that can do it. And so when you look at the NLCS, you start thinking to yourself, who? Because neither one of these two, Arizona, Philadelphia, who the hell?
Yeah.
Well, think about it. Think about the way the Phillies got there last year. The formula hasn't changed. They did it the same way again this year.
Yeah,
the same way. So they understand the landscape. They understood what they had to do to get there. They got a little help from guys being stupid with their mouth, but still they understood the landscape and they understood how to do it, and they pulled it off again.
But last year only took them this far. How do they get over the hump?
Well, they got to get over the hump with the middle of the lineup continuing to be what they've been in that Braves series. I mean, those 2 guys have got to be the studs. I mean, again, the stars have to be stars. And so far for the Phillies, that's been the case. It has to continue to be that way if they want to become world champions.
I think one thing that I like to change in the Phillies lineup is the way that's formatted. I don't like Schwarber hitting leadoff. I mean, he worked in the regular season. He's been doing
that for too long now.
Exactly.
But there's no one else that they possess that's going to do that.
But also, why you hitting Nick Castellanos all the way to the back of like 7? He's hitting 7. He should be protecting Bryce Harper.
Well, he is for the 7th position when you think about it, because you got Realmuto in there as well. So
Realmuto's struggling. So is Alec Bohm. So I think they have to change that. But other than that, I mean, they look beautiful. Defense is a little bit shaky, more than what I like. But they get it done.
You've got Bryce Harper at first base, who's not a first baseman, and that from time to time can be a bit of an issue. But other than that, I think defensively they were okay again. But they were more than okay against the Braves, and they were more than okay in the wild card round as well. So I don't,
But they're not facing the Braves though. They facing a not a juggernaut though, but this is a team that could spray the ball everywhere. And we mentioned this. If you're not sharp on your feet,
the Diamondbacks is going to be the same problem the Texas Rangers have. What do you do after Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen pitch? Now what do you do? And I think that in the end is going to be the reason why the Diamondbacks don't get past this round, because if they've got to throw a bullpen in Game 3 and maybe even throw another one in Game 4 with that lineup and the way they're swinging the bats, that's not going to work.
Although I saw something that I really liked out of the rookie that they have, Fat, that he was throwing the contact. He was using the defense more. He's usually a guy that he's like 10 Ks per 9 inning. He definitely switched the flip the script.
Pitched well against the Dodgers when he threw. Pitched awful against the Brewers, but got away with it in the first round. There's got to be something in the middle here. And remember, that's the thing.
His last game was against the Dodgers.
Right, but you've got Ranger Suarez, who pitched awfully well for the Phillies as that third starter. And I think that becomes the difference in the Phillies' way. If Suarez can continue doing that and putting up zeros, even if it's just for 4 or 5 innings, it's going to make it awfully difficult for the Diamondbacks to get past that.
Also, one other key thing here, I mean, when you look at the trade deadline and you see the movements and transactions that the Arizona Diamondbacks made, it might not blow in your mind, but they added some great bullpen guys there. They have a good bullpen. Cinco, they have Sewell, Paul Sewell is the guy they got. Sewell, they got from the guy
And they
from
got Seawall too from Seattle, which was really the
Sewell,
best
yeah.
deal of all of them that they made.
Oh.
But the more they get used, the more you figure it out.
Exactly. So let's see. I'm curious about that third starter for
Louis,
them, but
Louis, who you like in the NLCS?
I'm going with the Phillies.
Fighting Phils.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think that the way they're swinging the bats and the way that they've got home field advantage, I think everything has worked out exactly the way that they could have dreamed about it. It's worked out for them. I mean, they weren't supposed to have home field advantage when they got to this point, and now that they have it, I don't think they're going to give it away.
Nope.
Well, game one of the ALCS between the Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros is probably about 20 minutes away from getting started.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
Going to be a big series. I mean, it's going to be a big. I mean, I like it. I understand.
So I guess the question now becomes, and really, it's been thrown out there far too often already. Does Major League Baseball look at this playoff format, and do they decide that tweaking it becomes something that needs to be done? I thought the comments that Spencer Strider made after losing Game 4 in Philadelphia was that we don't need to touch this thing. It's not the format's fault that 300-win teams didn't get to the League Championship Series. It's the teams themselves. So does Major League Baseball leave this alone, or do they decide once the offseason arrives that they need to play with this a little bit to give the teams that have the bye less time to wait for that first series of games to be played?
Well, you said Louis. You first, Louis.
Well,
what do you think?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you win the division, well, I think you deserve to get the bye. But maybe you shouldn't wait, 5 days to start the new series. I mean, because that was what they were complaining about. It took too long in between series to get the series started.
But the thing is, it's hard to maneuver that because you got to play three games, the wild card series.
So does the wild card series stop being a 3-game series?
No,
just put it one. You can't really do that.
I mean, I loved it when it was the 1-game winner go home.
Yeah, that's what I want. It should go back to one.
I thought that was great. And I do think that for the bye winners, that's probably what you want. You want the wild card to just be a 1-game winner go home setup. That's what you want.
In my opinion, you can't be sitting down for almost a week and expect your timing to be in time.
Listen, it's on the team. You don't win 99, 104, 101, 100 games. You don't win that many games and then all of a sudden decide,
right?
Yeah,
decide that we suck.
This is the wrong time for us to show up. No, you've been showing up all year long, and what the first reward that you get for having the best records is to get a bye, and who doesn't want? I mean, I'm not.
Well, think about it. The Phillies haven't had the bye for the past 2 years, and look where they are.
Right, but in general, who doesn't want the bye?
I think
apparently the only team that knows how to use this is the Houston Astros.
And so, what did they do that everybody else didn't do?
Well, that's why I say it's on the teams. It's on the teams. You like you said, John.
Yeah,
stars got to show up. Okay, it's the postseason. You got to show up.
True, the stars have to show up, but you've got to be prepared for it too. So, how do they use these 5 days to prepare yourself for what's coming? I mean, the Orioles used inter-squad games. The Dodgers did the same thing. It didn't work.
My answer, John, I don't give a damn what you do. You played 162 games and won 100, 101, 100, 200. You better figure that shit out.
But if you don't know how to do it, then what do you do?
No.
I mean, look, you're talking about flipping a switch on and off, which I think did become a problem for these three teams.
I pay you too much damn money to start thinking about this crap.
Yeah.
Get out there, play baseball, get it done. Listen, here's the other flip side of the argument. So the four of you, 104, 101, 199, you're not in. Three
Now,
of you.
remember, the 99 win team was a wild card team.
No, right. Three of you had the bye, and it didn't work out for either one of you. And now people are starting to question, hey, I wonder if maybe we should rethink this. Why? It ain't a problem for all the other teams that are still in there.
Because they didn't have a bye.
I'm really shocked
which should have made it harder for them.
But it didn't. That's the whole point. It didn't make it harder for them.
Well, then those teams that get the bye better figure that shit out, John.
Exactly.
I think it does become an interesting question, and I do think Major League Baseball is going to tweak this in the offseason. I think they will.
It should.
I think they'll tweak it.
Yeah. Well, my final thoughts. I'm gonna jump in there.
Go ahead.
My final thoughts. Why the bye teams, right? The best records, they face the worst wild card and a three game series, and have 12 series or 6 series.
And do like a 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 thing.
They don't do it in an NCAA, but something like that. It's like a Royal Rumble. Everybody you don't get no breaks. Go ahead and
right. And that sounds good for professional baseball. That's what we're paying for. You're making all this money. Why not? I like that. I love that, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, just have for example, out of this year, Baltimore Orioles face who was the last wild card for the American League? Toronto. Toronto.
Yeah, it would have been Toronto. Yeah, they would have
Toronto. Let them fight.
And you can set the postseason schedule.
You get ratings. You get attendance money. You get
and you can set the postseason schedule very easy like that.
Right, you can.
Very easy.
And the other part about it is that Major League Baseball doesn't want to play that many playoff games in the daytime. That also becomes the other part of the equation. They don't want to do it.
You could split them. You can
split it. Yeah, you can split it up so that would work. But it is one thing that Major League Baseball tries to avoid. And look at these two series. The day games that are going to be played are not starting until 5 o'clock. They don't want to do 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They'd rather do it at 5 o'clock and try and squeeze it in, as opposed to spreading it out the way you'd want it to be spread out.
Yeah. They could do one day the American, next day the national.
Oh, right, they can absolutely. Yeah, they can do that. Yeah.
Three games each.
3 games each.
Louis,
right?
Final thoughts, Louis.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. But you know what? You don't want to keep going. Baseball only in November because the later it gets it, the later the conditions become horrible and the players get more injury. So pushing it all the way into like the second and third week of November, the postseason, that's a bit much. Think back to when we were young. I mean, when we were young, the World Series was already over by this time, and now
remember those games are all played in the daytime.
Yeah, I know, but it was a 3 of 5 league championship in the World Series. Now you're pushing it, the World Series back later and later. We're almost in like mid-November. I mean, that's ridiculous, and
like the Connors used to say, those were the days.
Yeah, they were. I mean, those games used to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, but that was the beauty of it. We came home from school and we were ready to watch the game.
That's right.
I like it. I like that.
John,
like I said, nowadays Major League Baseball is not going to do that. They're going to start them at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Shame on them.
Right, they're not going to do that anymore.
Final thoughts, John.
Well, I have 2 actually. First of all, Buck Showalter was supposed to be in San Francisco today to interview for the Giants job. So it appears that Buck still wants to be a manager, despite the fact that it didn't quite work out in New York. And tomorrow is a very important day for the International Olympic Committee because the full board is going to vote on whether there'll be baseball and softball for the 28th Summer Olympics that will take place in Los Angeles. Now, this upcoming summer, there will be no baseball and softball in Paris. And so the hope is that the full board will say yes to the idea of bringing baseball and softball back for the
They should.
teams in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, it did so well with the 2020 Olympics in Japan. So why are
They
they?
didn't build facilities. That's why.
Okay, I understand that.
This is in Paris, right?
Yeah, they didn't build them. They didn't
Boy.
build a baseball stadium, and they didn't build a softball facility. And
Okay,
consequently,
I get.
those things were kept out. And so the hope is that the full board will say yes to the 28 games. And my hope would be that if they do say yes, that USA Baseball and USA Softball run some pre-Olympic tournaments leading up to that to really promote the idea that baseball and softball has returned. And it's going to give the LA Dodgers and the Anaheim Angels 4 years to complain about not being in their ballparks for pretty much a month.
Right.
Hmm?
Well, they're going
Don't
to
you
have
have anybody?
with those. If the International Olympic Committee says yes, Dodger Stadium and Angel Stadium will be the two places that will be used for the baseball tournament. And so consequently, the Dodgers and the Angels are going to have to go on an extended road trip, which both organizations have already said they're not interested in. It's going to give them 4 years to complain.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're playing in
I
no
have
time.
Well, hey, they had the same thing in '84. You know.
That's right. It did happen in '84. That's right. That's right.
I have two final thoughts as well. Number one is great baseball season. I mean,
Definitely.
it goes to show you how important a single game or a single series can be, even though you can go through 162 games and win 95, 98, 101, 104 games. That no matter how good you were for 162 games, and maybe I wasn't, the postseason means it's a new day, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the same record as you. And I'm 0-0, just like you, and I can do everything you can because I'm here just like you. And this postseason has really, really proven like none other in my lifetime before. It's something when the best team, the best record, gets swept or eliminated. But when the three teams that won 100 games are all gone, when it comes to the league championship series, that makes for a hellified story. No, the television networks aren't going to be happy. They may have to settle, and it looks like they may.
Depends how you sell it, though. It depends how you sell it. Because I think if you put enough drama in there and good people behind the microphones, they could sell anything.
Of course you can. Of course you can. But it's not going to be as they expected. But for the fans of baseball, this is what makes baseball at the major league level so exciting because it's October. It's no longer, we're not talking about preseason or the beginning of the season with hamstrings being pulled and little nagging injuries. We're not talking about the All-Star break, who are the buyers and sellers. It's August.
This is it.
This is it. This is it. There's no month after month talking baseball. This is it. If you don't get it done now, it's wait till next year. And there are four teams left. Three of them, well, all four of them will wait till next year, but only one of them will get to be crowned World Series champion.
And the other part of it is that you're not talking about teams with gigantic payrolls either.
No.
Very good, John.
I've always said payroll means nothing.
The other good thing is the other final thought. How cool is it to be able to win a series and then run and jump in the pool?
Why not?
Not bad.
I do it.
Not a big pool. Wasn't a big pool. I was waiting for somebody to get hurt there. It started to get full real quick.
I think the Dodgers did it to them when they beat them
Right.
years
Yeah,
ago.
the last time, yeah.
So they were jumping in the pool in Arizona's ballpark.
Yep.
It was kind of weird. Like,
So this time it was the Diamondbacks that got to jump all over and in the pool, and probably the long shot of the four.
Yeah.
To win it all. But this is why we play the game. When we come back next week, we'll have some games in the book.
definitely.
We will be closer to the 2023 World Series.
I'll be taking going through as the series moves on this week. So I'll be taking thoughts on the series on the show on Saturday. So if you guys get a chance, come on in.
Louis, I have a question.
Yes.
I've been meaning to ask this question the whole show. I've even reminded myself a few times, and I keep forgetting. Thank God the show's about to end. Hey, Louis, so I was wondering, you still think the Yankees got a shot at that last wild card?
I got to play on the 5th on that one.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure, Louis.
Well, the one thing the Yankees are doing is paying that payroll tax of $31 million. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to do something, and they look like they're not going to do anything.
No,
that's
they
what I
don't.
say to you, Luis, that the Yankees might not see playoff in a while if they don't change things. They have to start changing things. Boone, you need to get the hell out of there, man. Get that guy out of there. He got friends around the clubhouse, and he's well liked, but his formula is not working.
I'll admit to you, Louis. It would be.
It's everybody's getting better there, even
That's
the Blue
right.
Jays.
It would be great in several years to celebrate my 65th birthday, and say, it's been 4 years since the Yankees have made the playoffs, and it's been a great 4 years. It would be.
And Boston is about to make it rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again,
Somebody's going to make it rain. That's for sure.
Oh, they go.
Remember the website. It is NGSCSports.com, where you catch all of your current content. I'll be back tomorrow with Everything Titans, the Tennessee Titans, the NGSC Sports Tennessee Titans football podcast. Another heartbreaking loss this morning in London, 23-16, to the Baltimore Ravens. Was it 23-16? I could have said that wrong. I think I said that wrong. But anyway, it was a heartbreaking loss. So, oh well. And Thursday, we should be back Thursday, of course, with the political show. But until next week, this is Ralph Garcia for John Doucette, Alejandro Vargas, and Louis Tenor, unfortunately still a Yankee fan, saying good night.
He's wearing the pinstripes backwards.
Yes, he is.